Okay, so the purpose of this video is to give you a general approach or strategy on how you're going to beat anxiety for the rest of your life, okay? And I want to read to you here what I call the foundational principle on my website. And before I read it, I want you to promise me that you're going to tune with me here and stay with me so I can fully explain myself. I'm not here to discourage you. I just want to give you the absolute truth and give you the best information here so that you can overcome anxiety, not just for the next month and fall back into it, or the next year and then, fall back into it again, but to have the skills and the knowledge that you need to beat this for life. So let me read this and then explain myself. Anxiety is a built-in human emotion and cannot be permanently erased. However, you can learn the mindset and necessary skills to ensure that anxiety does not turn into anxiety ever again. Now that sounds a bit confusing, but let me explain it to you. So I want to start by making a distinction between anxiety with a lowercase a and anxiety with a capital A. Now, anxiety with a lowercase a is what I'm referring to in the first sentence, that it's a built-in human emotion and it cannot be permanently erased. Now, this anxiety with a lowercase a is totally different from anxiety with a capital A. Anxiety with a lowercase a is no different than happiness or sadness, not that it's the same emotion, but just that you can't get rid of it, okay? And it's a very uneasy, that uneasy feeling that if run rampant and uncontrolled will turn into anxiety with a capital A. Okay, so you can't get rid of that, but that's fine because that's not what's rocking your world anyways. If you're here, it's anxiety with a capital A that's really making you struggle, okay? And this is anxiety disorder. So anxiety with a capital A can be controlled and eliminated forever, provided that you learn how to control anxiety with a lowercase a. Now, this anxiety with a capital A, again, is anxiety disorder. It's all those terrible symptoms of feeling like you're going insane, or frequent panic attacks, or derealization where your perception and experience is just so crazy that a particular situation feels unreal. Depersonalization, which I always found is the scariest symptom, was where it just feels like some force or something's taken over your body and you're just this kind of passive observer on the outside, and you feel nuts. It's a crazy symptom, but that's one of the symptoms of anxiety disorder. And you can learn how to eliminate that forever, okay? You just got to know how to do it, okay? So this video is here to provide you with, like I said, a lifelong strategy on how you're going to eliminate anxiety, capital A, from your life, okay? So, that's me. My name is Matt. Just want to give you a face to put with, with me, someone speaking a face with a voice. And that's my dog, Nico. And I suffered with anxiety and depression and various forms of anxiety, OCD, BDD, generalized anxiety, social phobia, for many years, okay? And for the past 5 years, I've been completely happy, healthy, stable, and life's been great. And it's because I've mastered my anxiety. Now, I've learned a lot of things along the way, and that's what I want to share with you here, okay? So first thing I want to tell you is you need a plan. So let me talk about some of the plans that I took in my life. Plan A here, self-help, okay? And that's when I first started experiencing this stuff, the panic attacks and the severe anxiety and depersonalization and all that. I wanted to take that self-help route, and I didn't want nothing to do with conventional medicine, no medication, and no therapist, none of that, okay? So I did come across, it was Tony Robbins' Personal Power self-help program. That was awesome, okay? And I learned a lot of great techniques and ideas on how to eventually get rid of my anxiety and also overcome the depression that my anxiety had led me to. So that was fantastic, okay? But, after 6 months of feeling fantastic, anxiety started to creep back in, and I just didn't expect it because I thought anxiety was gone, for life. But it wasn't. That lowercase anxiety, little a, came back, and I was upset because I didn't expect it. I thought, I totally eradicated it from my life, but the fact is that little a, anxiety, never goes away. And I didn't have the stamina or knowledge to control it, okay? And it turned into anxiety with a capital A again. And at this point, I became, again, just anxiety ruined my life, and it turned into depression. And at this point, I didn't even have the motivation to go with my self-help program that had helped me in the first place with anxiety from Tony Robbins. So I just had to go to the medical model because I just, I was literally moments away from committing suicide. So I started seeing a therapist, a psychiatrist, and I actually started taking medication, which was something that I was completely against. But I got to say, it did help. It didn't cure my anxiety and depression, but it gave me just enough energy, focus, and motivation to get my life back on track. Okay, so I call this here the Plan B method, just the conventional method, which is another approach. Plan C is what I totally advocate. Okay, let me get back to Plan B for a second. Now, if you're a Plan A type person who decide, already you want nothing to do with a therapist, psychiatrist, or medication, I understand because I was there, but I'm telling you right now, you need to make it a part of your plan at the very least. Not that you have to do it. If you want to be a Plan A person, I say great, and it can be done, okay? And if you can do it, great. But if you can't, that's fine too, okay? And you can make Plan B part of your overall plan, okay? Which is the best way to go. Especially, I can't see why you wouldn't meet with a therapist. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it, and you can gain a lot of knowledge and perspective. And basically, my goal, what I advise people, is see a therapist with the goal of becoming your own therapist. Okay, so I think that's a definite thing to do. I mean, to me, it's silly, and it's actually stupid not to. Okay, psychiatrist, I can understand if you're against medication, fine. Okay, not that there's anything wrong with it. I actually ended up taking it myself. Doesn't mean you have to be on medication for life, but maybe it helps you through a tough period, okay? So I say meet with a psychiatrist at least once, just so you have access, quick and easy access to medication. Even if you're totally against it, think of it as the nuclear option, okay? Just have it there, okay? Be strategic and have it ready. I mean, otherwise it's just silly. Why not be ready for all possible scenarios? And the scenario may arise where you find you can't control your anxiety. Okay, maybe you just need more self-help before you can do that, okay? So, again, I'd say make that a definite part of your plan, just to at the very least have quick and easy access to all available options. So I clearly advocate Plan C, okay, which is just basically using all available resources, which is just simply, it's common sense, okay, using all your resources available. Okay, so now back to the self-help portion of it, which I think is the long-term strategy or the long-term skills that are going to really get you where you need to be, where is being able to manage your anxiety lowercase a so it doesn't turn into anxiety capital A. Okay, so what do you need? A few different things here. You need the facts. The facts about what? The facts about anxiety. Okay, so just a basic knowledge about anxiety, whether it be from a book or whatever. Okay, and just learning certain things. I think the key points to know are anxiety cannot hurt you. I know it's incredibly uncomfortable, and a panic attack feels like a heart attack, and you think you're going to die. Sometimes you feel like you're going insane and all crazy stuff like that. Depersonalization and derealization that I talked about earlier, okay? Feeling like a force has overtaken your body and you're not in there, okay? All this stuff is incredibly strange and incredibly uncomfortable, but you need to know one basic thing is that anxiety cannot hurt you, okay? As terrible as that stuff seems, as much as you think you're going to lose control, you're not, okay? And furthermore, anxiety can be beat, okay? And there's been thousands of people who have done it. I'm one of those people, and you're going to learn how to, okay? Another definite skill you need is thought and emotional management, okay? Thoughts and emotions are incredibly intertwined. If you don't already realize that, you need to realize that, okay? And the more cognizant you are of that fact, the better off you're going to be. Now, there's tons of techniques out there, just a few to name for you. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, which I find is a tremendous asset. NLP refers to neuro-linguistic programming, which is just another bag of tricks, so to speak, for how to interrupt thought patterns and take control of them and have more control over your thoughts. Self-talk, are you currently paying attention to the messages that you're giving yourself, the thoughts you're having in your own head, and also how you're responding to those thoughts? Because that's a huge part of your anxiety, I'll tell you that right now. And there's certain techniques that you can learn, being the observer, for instance, learning how to detach yourself from your thoughts and almost think about it like you're going into a movie theater, okay, and you're sitting in the crowd, and it's just you, and on the screen, though, is your current thoughts that you're having. You got to learn how to detach, that's called being the observer, and detach yourself from it, and just observe it, okay? That way, the emotional magnitude is going to decrease tremendously, and you'll be able to be more objective, okay, and rationalize things better, because all these anxiety-provoking thoughts are all irrational, okay, and you got to learn how to challenge them, okay, and learning to be the observer, I've kind of described it imperfectly, but there's tons and tons of techniques like that, okay? Pattern interrupt techniques, like I talked about the NLP stuff. Your anxiety, sometimes spins out of control because you have anxious thought spiraling after anxious thought, and it seems like it's going out of control, and that's a thought pattern run rampant and out of control. But if you can learn to interrupt those patterns with many different techniques, okay, a lot from NLP that I've learned, you can recompose yourself and not fall into that anxiety trap, okay? Another thing that I think you need to learn is a new perspective inside and out, okay? Inside, I mean inside your actual body, your mind, okay? How do how do you perceive the world, okay? Do you expect life to be fair, okay? That's one thing that I found was a huge limitation for me, was that, this isn't fair and stuff like that. But now I know and accept that life is not fair, and now it's a lot easier to deal with things when they come along because I simply know the truth that life's not fair, okay? And I don't expect it to be, okay? So little things like that could be a source of your anxiety. Also, too, another self-help skill you need is learning relaxation techniques and breathing techniques, especially if you have the panic attacks. Breathing's huge. Because, when you're having a panic attack, you have all these anxiety thoughts running out of control, plus you're hyperventilating, okay? So those are more things you're going to want to learn, okay? Some more tools for you to put in your bag there. Diet and exercise, you want to know what foods and beverages promote anxiety. For instance, caffeine is going to really mimic anxiety and promote anxiety. But at the same time, too, the more knowledge you have about anxiety, the more, or the less rather, it's going to limit your life. For example, I'm a big coffee drinker, okay? And I know caffeine is going to contribute to my anxiety. However, I know that I've mastered my anxiety to a certain degree where I can handle a couple of cups of coffee a day, just because I know what to expect and I know how to stop any anxious thoughts that come along and deal with them and cope with them, okay? So you can only benefit by learning more about your anxiety and learning tools to help decrease it, okay? And then physical exercise, of course, everyone knows physical exercise has tremendous benefits on everything, including mental health. So that's something you want to start making a part of your routine. And then the key to all of this is what I started this entire video with, that I call the foundational principle. And I think it's the key to a lifetime free of anxiety, capital A, anxiety disorder, because there's a lot of programs out there that promise to eliminate your anxiety forever. And while that's, it gives you hope and all that, it's good, but at the same time, it's a bit deceiving because it's not completely true, okay, because they don't make the distinction between capital A and lowercase a anxiety. And for me, it almost ruined me because, like I kind of alluded to earlier, after my first experience with my self-help program, I was under the impression, I had the thought that anxiety was gone forever. So when it started to come back, first of all, it caught me off guard. I wasn't ready to deal with it. And then secondly, I became extremely resentful and angry because in my mind, it wasn't supposed to be back, okay? And that's what really ruined me, was that limiting belief, was that anxiety can be gone for good. And the actual truth of the matter is, anxiety with a lowercase a is always going to be something that's going to come around, okay? So if you can learn how to manage that lowercase a anxiety, then it's not going to turn into the capital A anxiety. But my flaw was that I didn't expect that anxiety to come back in any form, okay? So I think the foundational principle to keep in mind is that no matter what you do, okay, anxiety is always going to pop its head back in. Just know that going forward, and it'll make it that much easier to deal with when it comes back up. And also, it's not even close to anxiety disorder, which I know is it stops you from going out, it stops you from doing a million things. It might keep you from work, it might keep you from relationships, and that's awful, and that's what you want to overcome, and that's what you can overcome, and you will overcome it. But you need to realize it's a lifelong, not even a battle, it's a battle at first, but once you learn these skills, it's just something to be aware of, so you never slip back into that trap and fall into the anxiety disorder ever again, okay? So those are just some of the self-help skills that you need. I want to close just by letting you know, I have a website where I blog, a few times a week and have certain information I'm always writing about with respect to helping people with anxiety, from certain techniques to diet and exercise and all that. I'm basically just giving you a broad strokes approach right now on how to beat anxiety for the rest of your life. My site really fills in the gaps with specific things to do, okay? So I'm just sending you all an invitation, to check me out and check out some of these things that I believe could really help you, okay? I want to close with a few thoughts that are very important. You need to know that you're not alone, okay? I know these symptoms are very scary, and you're probably thinking, no one's ever experienced what I've experienced. People have, okay? And people have successfully overcome it, okay? Thousands of people, okay? I'm one of those people, and I'm going to help you, share some information that's going to help you get over it too, okay? And maybe the biggest thing, finally, is that, your healing journey is going to include some stumbling along the way, and that's fine, okay? So don't be discouraged. I know that's hard. I mean, I know I was. I had a few different episodes where I ended up tripping and falling, and I thought, I became very pessimistic, and I thought life was over, so to speak. Looking back now, I've discovered that those apparent failures, well, they were failures at the time, but, they're really apparent failures, that you can ultimately transform those into the greatest sources of strength, confidence, resolve, compassion, empathy, wisdom, and power in your life. I guarantee it. Suffering is a terrible thing when you're going through it. However, when you're able to get through it and look back on it, it's just a tremendous source of power. It really is. I don't think there's anything more powerful in the universe, to tell you the truth. There was a famous Jewish philosopher of antiquity, Achan or something to that. I can't pronounce his name. But he said, "He who has not suffered, what could he know?" Okay? And after having been through tremendous suffering, I totally, wholeheartedly agree with that statement. Suffering is such an education, and more than that, it's a strength and a knowing that you develop for resolve going to the future, which kind of relates to Nietzsche. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? And that's true. I mean, it's just you can't see it at the time when you're going through it, but I promise you, if you get through, do what you need to do to get through this anxiety, which you will, okay? And it's going to make you that much stronger of a person going forward, and that much happier of a person going forward, okay? So that's it for now. But again, check me out at the website, anxietyhelpforlife.com, and get healing.